What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20. Today we have a matchup of Typhlosion and Ninetales versus Venomoth and Fortress. The latter also known as Moth Balls. So, right off in the active, no Clefas to be seen, very rare for a WotC-20 match. And we have an E-Reader Venonat get an immediate grass attach. That Venonat is from Sky Ridge. It does have the ability to attack off of this attach. For 2 coin flips, it'll deal 10 for each heads. And a gold berry comes down early as well. 2 grass energies go to the bin for a computer search. I assume we'll see a fan club considering there are no Clefas, and that would be wrong for a WotC-20 game. As you can see on the bench, Neo Destiny Pineco is already there. So there's the fan club. On the other side of the board, we have 2 Cyndaquil. I believe they're from Neo Genesis. There are 2 Neo Genesis Cyndaquils, but this was one of those 2. And then we see a vending mine unique to the format. We pulled it in. We thought it was a healthy addition to the game. It does remove weakness and resistance. Monotype decks did have kind of a type matchup disadvantage, and in a 1-of format we were finding that donks were common. That was also kind of related to Erica's Jigglypuff. I won't get into all of the history, but Vending Mime is legal in this format. So that will matter considering it's a Fire Grass matchup. And the attack is 2 tails, no damage to the opposing Cyndaquil from Venonat. And we pass it over to the Fire side. From what we can see in hand, it looks like there's already a Typhlosion in hand. The Fire attach goes to Cyndaquil. But Vending Mime, doing its job, will prevent Venonat from taking super effective damage. So early Elm, and there will be no more trainers this turn from Cyndaquil's side. Now, Vending Mime only works when it's on the bench. If it gets pulled into active, its ability will not be active. But that card was for the first time printed in English in the Classic Collection, I believe in the Water deck. So that's where we've sourced a lot of copies from. Very cheap card too. Alright, off of the Elm, which also has Cyndaquil in the art, so that's how you know this deck is fully synergized. Get 7 off the top.
Oh boy.
Looks like there is a fan club, but it can't be used right now. DCE, 2 Fire, and a Ninetales. We might see an early Gust. Wouldn't be the worst thing to get Mime off the board. It only has a retreat cost of 1 though, so it wouldn't be super stuck. Looks like we're just gonna go and mark 20. And it's a head, so no discard for Fireworks, just deals a flat 20. And that is the only Venonat in the format with 50 HP, I believe. Yep, it's the only one with 50 HP. So Mime putting in serious work in one of the few games I have seen it thrown down. Looks like a big decision is coming from the Mothball side. Looks like a small hand, only 2 cards. See what the decision here is. Knowing that his opponent just went for an Elm. Alright, and that's now we see what he was talking about. We have a Rainbow Energy for 10 to Clefa, so that does set it up for a KO against Fireworks, but an Eek to refill the hand, probably the right move there. Especially when the opponent is holding a full grip. There comes a fan club. So I'm sure we'll see, knowing that there's a Ninetales in hands, maybe a Clefa, maybe a Vulpix. There we go, E-Reader Vulpix. So Vulpix is from Expedition. It's the only, it's not the only E-Reader printing. There was one in Aquapolis, but 50 HP, tons of Vulpix options. Although that is padded out by Gym Challenge and Gym Hero Vulpixes for Blaine and Brock. But lots of 50 HP Vulpix options. And one of the, notably, it's also a claymation card. We see an attached to Clefa. Now if you're here, you can go for the prize. Another Elm, so very fast on Fire Cycle right now. would be good to have Cleffa active before too many Fortresses are on board, because Fortress spikes will stack. Now with a full hand, you don't have to eke here. I do think that going for Fireworks with Cyndaquil would be correct. No point decelerating energy and retreating just to have to flip another coin to try to eke against an opposing Cleffa. Second Vulpix comes down. Now for the two attacks on this Vulpix card, you have Tail Shake, which just puts the opponent to sleep. And then for one fire, one colorless, you get Flare for 20. Nothing to write home about, but not totally useless either. Alright, full bench now on Fire's side, and we see the first evolution into Quilava. One of two Quilavas with 70 HP. I do like this Quilava personally. It's from Neo Genesis, 70 HP, and this is for a Cleffa knockout. Now for the discard, that was a big knockout. And it heads, wow. So that fire energy putting in work, stays in twice. You can roll high with Cyndaquil, and the first prize card of the match is taken. We'll keep an eye on the two Elms and Bin, see how much cycles left for the Cyndaquil side. Some tough choices here because Venonat's already damaged. You don't want to really dangle Mr. Mime. It also has a retreat cost of 1. If Venonat can evolve, I think Venomoth is a free retreater. It is. So we'll see if that gets an evolution. Fortress comes down. And hopefully this was a really good eke for Mothballs. Very nice bin flare too. I appreciate being able to see the full bin. And a DCE attachment.
Is the discard part supposed to be above or below the deck?
Now if you want to just try to end the game super early, there is a line here where if you pass back, Cyndaquil can get another attach and flip heads for quick attack. And at that point, if your opponent gets that many consecutive heads, maybe you don't want to play anymore. But that's WotC for you.
Okay.
Lots of thinking, but the attach return is already done here. Could also slow things down and bring up the Cleffa if you wanted to. It would take 10 from spikes on Fortress, and then it would also take a similarly silly amount of heads for Venonat to respond with a KO. Doesn't look like there's any basics in the hand for the Venonat side here.
Okay.
Warp and a Venonat to Bin for comp search. I have to imagine, well, there's already a fan club in Bin. Some decks run 2, most decks run 1. We'll see if another one comes out. Unsure what the perfect card for this scenario would be. You might see comp search used as a fan club for 1 just to pull out a single Cleffa. But then you would have to discard a DCE to get it active. You would have to... You wouldn't be able to eke.
Tail shake for 1 energy. Guaranteed sleep. Probably better than
Alright, probably a good amount of deck peeping going on here too. Comp search is good for that. Figure out what's prized and what your lines are. With 1 Venonat in the bin, you know that a lot of energy can freely be committed to Fortress. I wonder if there's a world where you pull out something like an oak here. Just dig harder. Find those basics, don't let the board get too out of control.
You stick it around for Sanders.
I'd like to.
Cool. So there's definitely 3 of us.
I guess I play.
Alright, the wait seems to be over. Computer search picked up a card. Does not have to be revealed to the opponent.
Evens, I guess.
And a gold berry attaches to Fortress. Alright, Elm is probably the computer search card. We were talking about Oak earlier. It's probably an Elm deck instead, makes sense. So no more trainers for a turn. Hopefully some basics get dug up. Now, if Venomoth does come out, it does have Healing Dust for DCE. It would be able to attack. Healing Dust would be 2 coin flips. For each heads, remove a damage counter from each of your Pokemon. So that would fully heal up the damage on Venonat right now. Full grip. Looks like it was found. I don't think we're going to see any free retreating done here, though. And no basics, really. Alright, we'll have to keep an eye on what the other 6 cards could be here. Healing Dust. I see 1 heads. Worth noting that Healing Dust will heal bench, so very good against spread decks, but that is not what fire decks are really known for. Unless maybe you see a Blaine's Rapidash run around here and there as a splash. A Focus Band comes down on the Vulpix. And a Heat Up Typhlosion comes down, okay.
So if I get tags, it does 30, right?
So based on energy attaches, Heat Up has a lot of text to it, but you count energy cards, not energy, so DCE counts as 1. And if your opponent has more than you, you can pull a fire energy out of your deck, attach it to any benched Pokemon of yours, regardless of color. Alright, that was a defensive Gust into a guaranteed Eek, 1 Typhlosion on board, 1 Vulpix starting to power up. So, fairly even board state still. Still need to see what kind of escape options there are for the Venomoth side.
The way that this deck works is favorable.
Typhlosion.
Typhlosion getting gusted. That's pretty good considering it's a 2 retreater. And a Metal Energy goes on to Fortress.
Okay. Discard. Use card.
For what it's worth, Typhlosion does have a good attack in its own right with Super Singe. Flip to burn, otherwise 50 damage for 2 fire and 2 colorless. Gonna see an item finder here from Venonat's side. I guess Venomoth, there is no Venonat here. I assume we'll see an aggressive item finder for Elm. Discarding another item finder, I think I saw in the pile. Discarding item finder with item finder. Sometimes it's just too much discard in one space, even if you do pack Elm. Alright, so that was definitely item finder for Fan Club based on Pineco and Cleffa coming down. And the Elm was from hand, I think. So, looking for setup pieces. Boards are looking good on both sides. Just where is all the energy? Keeping an eye on what Heat Up can do. Right now it's 2 energy on each side. And a pass back to Typhlosion. We'll see if any Ninetales come down here. I see a Cleffa and a Warp in hand. Warp is a big deal here.
Sure.
Cancels out a Gust effectively.
It's not a retreat.
Doesn't count. Or it's just any time a Pokemon would become active. So like Warp, Double Gust.
Yeah, and 10 damage from Spikes on Fortress. Doesn't have to be a retreat. It's just anytime something becomes active. Trader in a Cleffa. We're definitely going to see that Ninetales come out here. So ideally there's an attach from hand, I guess. You could go for Mislead, which is Ninetales' first attack. Flip 2 coins if either of them is heads. Defending Pokemon is now confused. Kind of a unique attack. Expedition Ninetales has 80 HP. What you really want off of it is Ethereal Flame. For 3 colorless, you discard all fire energy attached to it. Not conditional. And then the attack will do 30 plus 20 more for each discard in that way. Very similar to Macargo from the Neo block. I do think Macargo is a little more flexible. You control how much fire you discard. But Ninetales can hit big numbers in energy flow. So if you're not familiar with that card, I think it's from one of the gym sets.
Sure.
Energy flow is basically a Quapolis Espeon's ability on a card.
Yep. None. Okay, correct. Yeah. So
Heat Up.
which is Tutor War.
1 fire energy and it.
Alright, so energy flow enabled Heat Up from the Typhlosion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Done the Heat Up first because it doesn't matter if he's active or matched.
And now Heat Up is pulled to not the active Vulpix. If there was an attach, I would have thought it would go to active.
It's okay. Just gotta clean up the plays. So in that case, this one's a Ninetales.
Alright, bench Ninetales evolves. Alright, I have to do some math here to figure out if that Fortress was at risk of knockout. It would have needed 90 damage. There's no super effective online right now.
So now I'm gonna freeze dry, I'm gonna flick paralyzed Pokemon.
Well, with 3 fire attaches, Ethereal Flame would hit 90. We'll see if Copycat draws into natural energy. I assume it will. It's quite a big hand. Alright, so perhaps intentionally, but missed KO potential on the active Fortress. Would have removed a metal and gone through a gold berry.
Then I will Tilt Shake.
Sure. Just puts me to sleep.
Interesting. No attach from hand.
Wake up.
I don't think there was an attach that turn, but there's fire energy in hand. Maybe there was an attach from turn, and I missed that. That is my bad. So, Vulpix has Fortress asleep. Fortress is not awake. We'll see what comes off of this trader. I assume it will be another Fortress, so that anything coming active will start to take 20. Of course, you can't gust for that damage. It would have to be, I believe Fortress is only during your opponent's turn. But it does apply to things like Warp and Switch and Warp Point. Venomoth can now attack with that attach. Miracle Powder turns out to be pretty good. 1 grass energy and 2 colorless. Deals 30, and then if you win a coin flip, you'll get to specify a special condition to afflict the opponent's active with. And another Gust. Lots of Gusts in Fortress. Makes sense. Good synergy with Spikes and just a phenomenal trainer card to begin with. Fortress is awake between turns. Cyndaquil stuck inactive. So huge hands. See a DCE in hand for Typhlosion.
Alright, we'll start with Flare and Gaze.
Heat Up can be used before an attach is used.
Hand, choose omit a number of cards, up to the number of cards.
Alright, we want to heat up.
Sure.
Yeah, here comes Heat Up. On to the Ninetales. And then we'll see what the attached choice is. I wouldn't mind seeing a DCE come down. Lots of energy in hand, wow. Tons of fire, I see a Warp. Trader Town V, and it looks like an Oracle on the far left. Can't quite tell what that card is. Looks like Oracle to me. And Warp gets Cyndaquil out. Vulpix now taking a huge chunk of damage. 20 just for showing up. It's already up to 30. Good thing it's 50 HP. If Fortress gets a DCE next turn, though, that would pretty much take care of Vulpix unless Focus Band comes into play. Oh, it's a Nurse. Interesting. So, Pokemon Nurse as a supporter is a single target Pokemon center for those who know base set. It'll heal up one Pokemon fully and discard all energy attached to it. So, good synergy with Ninetales. A little awkward because you need to attack, wait a turn, then you can heal, but you can always use energy flow too, as we saw that trainer in the discard pile. A Rainbow Energy coming down on Fortress, dealing 10 to it.
I was thinking that I can't draft, but I guess that.
And a pass. Sleep continues to be a problem.
Okay, alright, I'll go for Dark.
Alright, energy count on board looks like 4 for Fortress, but also 4 for Typhlosion, so no heat up this turn. Now, fire to Ninetales. This should be a kill here. Yeah, we're going to see the first prize of the match for sure.
If status turns off the ability.
I do think status turns off the ability on Fortress. I think that's what they're looking up right now. Yep. Power stops working if Fortress is affected by a special condition. Good to know.
Can't over 20 that I take.
Yeah. Okay.
Quick rule check, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. It's 10 pretty quickly.
Yep, they'll stop working, so you'll take 10.
And I'll Ethereal Flame for knockout.
Alright, Ethereal Flame for knockout, as we were seeing earlier. Although I do think I misread how the attaches were working that one turn. Alright, that's 2 prizes down, because there was the early Cleffa knockout. Alright, 2 attackers now online for Fortress, one of them being Fortress itself. Fortress has Rapid Spin, does 30, and then it Cyclones the opponent, and you can switch yourself. Alright, and a Heads from Venomoth gets the Paralysis, I think is the choice, based on card rotation there. Trading in a Cleffa. Good to see so much Trader. One of my favorite cards. Ninetales being paralyzed is not great. 80 HP though. It can survive 2 more hits. Quilava is pulled out with Trader, I think.
Lost focus for a moment there.
And now Heat Up can come back into play. We have 4 energy on board for Fortress versus 1 for Typhlosion and Ninetales.
The snipe attack that doesn't do weakness, right?
No.
I'm going to Pokemon Nurse the Ninetales. Sure.
And a Nurse on the Ninetales. I wonder...
Item finder.
Town V going into the bin with the item finder. That's going to be an interesting choice.
Yeah, you can do it different out your deck. You can grab as well.
We'll see if there's multiple Town V in this deck. Typhlosion with Heat Up can only pull from deck, I think. So, if you run out of energy in your deck because you're nuking everything and discarding, I imagine there's more than one Town V in this deck, especially if you're item findering with it.
Like say we're doing like getting ready before the game, you don't want to show me what's in your deck, so you can face down.
I will evolutionary life.
Now we're very close to getting a second Typhlosion down. Looks like we're just going to baby stall though. And a metal down on a Cleffa. That's always annoying.
Start off. That's my professor.
Good job.
Let's say I just need a wave reset, and I need to do this one more.
Now here, if you have a Gust in hand, you can push that Cleffa to bench. You know it's going to be knocked out if it comes back in while that Fortress stays in play. Looks like small hands on both sides though. We're going to see some Eek attempts here. No Eek for Fortress. There is another Town V in hand, so this is a multiple Town V deck. That makes sense based on how Heat Up is worded. Lots of conditionals on that card. And the Town V, assumedly for a bunch of fire energy. We'll see if any lines get taken, and nope, it's going to be straight fire. 5 fire into the deck. Not sure what the energy line totals are for this fire deck, but got to keep Heat Up going, especially if you're going to get a second Typhlosion down.
I guess while I'm in, I'm gonna heat up.
And some sequencing here. Going to Heat Up, attached to Ninetales.
I've drawn the same card the past 4 turns.
But that's not evolutionary, right?
You're good. Fisher.
No. Attach return.
I'll take Frank Paralysis.
Attached for turn goes to the Cleffa.
Then
I assume we will see some eking here.
There's no hand save.
And also tails, so no eking, small hands. We'll see who starts pressing first. It's always risky to come in and start attacking when your opponent can guarantee an eek off of it if you hit tails. And another eek attempt. Does not succeed. Pass back to fire. Again, same situation, small hand. Do you want to try to attack? Probably not. Discarding 2 fire energy when you don't have 2 Typhlosion would not feel amazing. Well, now you're definitely not going to attack Cleffa with the Ninetales. That would be overkill, and you're probably going to save that for Fortress or Venomoth. And that Mime continues to just sit unabated. Juggling.
return. We'll put a DCE on Cleffa.
DCE for turn onto the bench Vulpix that already has 30 on it, but it does have a Focus Band. Worth noting that spikes would go through Focus Band. And there's our first successful Eek after 3 unsuccessful Eeks. And another Eek attempt. There we go.
Remember, he does retreat.
Now both sides are back to full grips. Someone's got to break open game state. Prize parity is 6-4 though. So it's not as equal as it could be. A little bit of a bin check here.
I do have the Gust of Wind in my hand, so I'll Gust up Ninetales.
And a lot going on in this hand. An Elm, DCE, Quilava Gust, Fire Energy, and I think I saw another Warp as well.
Okay.
2 Quilava now. Still no second Typhlosion. Looks like a fan club on the far left.
Yeah.
Gust of the Fortress.
Fortress gusted up. Now it can rapid spin out of there, so assumedly you're planning to eek. You do have the Elm though, so it's not totally necessary. Could just come in and swing with Ninetales.
I guess if you ever play a stadium, my guy just not there, right?
Base level,
Yeah.
is that like what's best?
I don't have any stadiums in the
Okay.
I assume we'll see that Ninetales come in, deal 90, grab another prize, make sure the only thing that can attack is Venomoth.
Okay.
Of course, if that Cleffa leaves the active,
Bring my guy out.
it would be able to freely come back in with no other fortresses down. We haven't really seen...
It's either that or
Pretty sure Fortress runs 4 Pineco.
Okay.
I think we saw one pitched earlier for either an item finder or a comp search, one of those 2 discard cards.
But once the Venusaur comes out, and we can start moving energy around freely, then it's because a good way to get tempo in this game is if you
Yeah, here comes Ninetales, so we'll see yet another prize.
then it's exactly the turns. But with energy transfer, it's like, oh, you're switching out.
I thought it was the end. Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay.
Does take 10 though.
Or another option.
Don't forget the prize up. There we go. Ooh, what came off of that prize? That looked like a e-reader. That was either a Typhlosion or a Ninetales. Either way, that's a good prize to grab. And a Town V from the other side of the board. It's going to grab a Fortress line, 2 Fortress lines. And a Pineco comes down with a DCE, so it's been difficult to keep those around.
Price of 2 fortress lines.
And with no Fortress on board, something like Poison from Venomoth isn't as appealing as it would be.
Yeah, your Totodile Just all but one of his Totodiles was surprised.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Alright, there's a heads. Paralysis is probably always great.
It's 30, yeah. I'm gonna...
Confusion could be good too, though.
I'm gonna play
A little bit different every time. So.
the energy, I guess.
But obviously, everybody's just trying to track the goal because you got control. So
I'm gonna
No.
that's all I ever said.
Alright, we are seeing a Poison, so
I've got some.
pretty worth it. It does tick between turns, so it's like dealing 40, even if there is a retreat.
I don't see how I win here.
I said, because all your Totodiles are prize that, I don't think that.
I'm gonna kill you with
Alright, so Ninetales probably coming out of active. It can do so without getting hit by spikes because there are no Fortress out right now.
I'm fine just scooping this.
I know I saw an e-reader in hand.
I was getting a little bit worried when
Still not sure if it's a Ninetales or another Typhlosion. Just a quick energy count
I
here.
got the Venusaur, I was thinking very
Alright, well, I won't do the energy count just now then.
Totodile, Cleffa. Pokemon Trader.
Cleffa comes up, let's see, 3 energy to 4 energy, so that does trigger the heat up by discarding the Warp.
Now we're tied.
Goes to a Vulpix. So I assume what's in hand is going to be a Ninetales. Or ideally it would be Ninetales here. And that would tick, let's see, Ethereal Flame math. That would do about 70. That would take out the Venomoth. Another fire attach. That's not necessary. Oh, a light Ninetales. I was not expecting that. 90 HP. So more HP than the Expedition Ninetales. Fire Blast is 50. Discard a fire energy to use the attack, so...
That's good.
but a lot of them also run them.
That's not a knockout, though. And it would trigger Goldberry.
It's just removed.
Worth noting, Light Ninetales also has Guiding Light, which puts a baby or basic from your discard onto your bench. Ooh, gusting out the Mr. Mime. Yeah, that's where 50 damage can go. Don't worry about popping Goldberry. Now Super Effective is back online here.
Right.
Yeah. Let me make sure that
What a good splash.
I lose 1 fire energy for that.
Sounds good. Oh, sorry, I drew before looking.
Alright, Fortress comes back down, but now Mime is not protecting anything from Fire Super Effective weakness.
Do you want it up? Or... Yeah.
This is like a big box. You can
Squeeze by there.
All right, energy count. It's 4 on Fortress's side to 4 on Ninetales' side. Got to figure out what you're going to be doing with that Venomoth. Let's see, there is 30 on the Ninetales, so you only got to find a way to deal 60. Paralysis, I mean, Flip for Paralysis would do it. I assume that right now, the Venomoth side is looking through the bin, trying to count the number of warp energies, see how likely it is that there's more than there are in the bin. Most decks, you know, you're usually seeing 2 to 3, but we can see hands, and we know that there is a warp on Typhlosion's side anyway. Typhlosion coming down. Not that you'll see much snowballing here. Heat Up is not very snowbally for an engine. And I think we're going to see some fire blasting babies here. On a coin flip, of course, and a discard. Got to be respectful.
I will attempt to fire blast.
Alright, we'll see if Fire Blast hits Cleffa.
Oh wait, no.
It does. Alright, down to 1 prize on the Ninetales side. Looks like we're going to see a scoop. So thank you for watching. This was very interesting matchup. Mime did a lot of work.
I just changed some stuff.
Super Effective did come back in though. Did matter very late in the end there. Surprise Light Ninetales Splash putting in lots of work. So thank you for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll catch you next time.
Really bad prizes. Holy.
Just a bad shuffle.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking. I was like, if you just put it together, but you had everything prompt,
Yeah.
you might have done it.
It's almost certainly what happened. Do you still have my poison?
I do not.
It's somewhere.
I don't know what happened.
Oh my god, here it is. I'm blind.
GG's.
Extremely poor running.
I've been